All right. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know, my name is Megan with Sawgrass Technologies. We are a sublimation company, and we do a little dabbling in printable vinyl. So before I get started, while we wait for everybody to come into the room, please tell me your name, where you're from, and if you've attended one of our classes in the past or not. We've been doing these classes for a few months now, so I'd love to see where you guys are all at with your knowledge of sublimation. So I can better tailor this class to what you all need to know moving forward. And if you watch any of our Academy videos or our Facebook Live videos, let me know as well. And I'm just gonna reach over here so you all know. I am looking at the computer here, but we have a computer on the side here where I'm monitoring your comments and your questions. So if you see me looking to the side, that is what I am looking at. So I'll be trying to monitor and answer everything as we go so that no one gets lost. Berlinita said it's her first time and she's excited. Sloan says completely green. I like that. That's a really cool way of saying I'm new here. So I'm going to let all these comments kind of come in for a little while before we get started so that nobody misses out on any of the fun stuff that we are doing today. Tanya just got her silhouette last night. She's very excited. That is fantastic. Galaxy is new. Jessica got her Sawgrass last week. That is awesome to hear. And she is brand new. Rhonda says, love learning new things. Marietta is new. Diane says she's watched me before. Diane, I appreciate you coming back, even though you watched me before. So thank you very much. Sherry is new. Lisa just got her printer in the mail today. That's awesome. I'm so glad we have a lot of new users here and people who are excited to get their printers and their silhouettes out of the box and get learning. Let's see, it looks like Ian now is new as well. So great. So we have a lot of new people. So what I'm going to do with this class is, yes, I'm going to teach you how to use Sawgrass, parts of Silhouette, how to use our Sawgrass Creative Studio, but I'm also going to give you basic information about printing on vinyl and basic information about sublimation. So when you all go to do these projects, you know exactly what you're doing outside of even what I'm teaching you today. Sophia is new. Kathleen is purchasing a Sawgrass this month. That is awesome to hear. All right. So Felicia from Michaels is saying hi to everybody. So let's get started. So what we are making today is this super fun shirt. I'm gonna go to the up close camera. So this Talk Crafty to Me shirt that I am pretty sure everybody in this group probably relates to. So we're gonna be making this shirt today. The really cool part about this shirt in particular is that this is all made out of one sheet of EasySubli vinyl. So no layering, no masking, none of that. This is just one sheet of vinyl and it's super easy to make. All right, so it looks like everybody's in here. So I'm going to head into the computer. So right now I'm at sawgrassink.com. That is our website. I'm going to click on Creative Studio. Now, Creative Studio is our Sawgrass design platform. And you can be a premium member of Creative Studio, or you could be a free member. There's a lot of elements that we use in Creative Studio that you can use for free. For more elements, you can use a premium membership, either monthly or annual. I'm not going to get into any of that though, because that is not the point of today. So in Creative Studio, we have hundreds of templates that you can use when designing on a product. Because I am printing on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of EasySubli vinyl using my EasySubli inks, I am going to head to the blank design canvases. And I am just going to design on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper because that's what fits my needs for this project. Okay. So I've got my sheet open. Now I'm going into designs. And as you can see here, our designs are broken up in different categories. I am heading down to frames and watercolors. And I'm going to head over to page 2. And I want this swash of color in particular. So I'm going to shrink this up I want this to be just under 7 inches. The good thing about the project we're making today is it doesn't have to be exact. So I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit. There we go. 6.87 inches. And I'm going to go down to the rotate bar. I'm just going to rotate this a little bit. So what I want, as you can see on this design, is kind of a pattern. So I have this. Now I'm going to go back into my frames and watercolors bar of my design tool, and I'm going to select this swatch of color. I'm going to shrink this up a little bit. I'm going to layer this. I'm going to move this up so I can see my workspace just a little bit better. I'm going to shrink this. I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. Oop, it's a little sensitive. And I'm going to have this layered slightly on top of the blue portion of this design. Now I'm going to go back and select this blue portion again. And I'm going to shrink it up. Go here, just going to rotate it back just a little ways. And I'm going to put this underneath, there we go, underneath that pink layer. I'm going to send this behind my pink layer. So as you can see, they're starting to overlap on top of one another. And it looks like we might have a question. So Crystal wants to know what the name of this site is. This is called Creative Studio. You can access it on sawgrassink.com. So sawgrassink.com and click on Creative Studio in the top of your toolbar, and that will bring you to this design space. Tanya says that she's not sure how to get into Silhouette. Don't you worry, we will be showing you how to get into Silhouette and how to use some portions of Silhouette throughout this tutorial. Okay, so, and I want to finally do one last pink layer here. Just going to move this down a little bit. I'm going to use the scale bar to shrink. Ooh.
Yeah, I see you lost. We apologize. We see that Megan has lost her sound, so please bear with us. Thank you. And just real quick, since Megan does not have sound, for to get into your Silhouette Studio, definitely visit silhouettestudios.com, or you can actually visit silhouetteusa.com. I'll put the link also into the chat. We hear you now.
You got me now. Okay, cool. We always have to keep it fun around here. So last week, equipment wasn't working. So this week is an audio issue, but the equipment still has time to break, so stand by. So while we were waiting, somebody had a question, which was a great question. Someone wanted to know, can you create designs in something else like Canva and import them to be printed by the Sawgrass? So the answer is yes. You could technically make a design, save it as a PNG, import it into the gallery section of Creative Studio as if it was a picture, and put it onto an item in Creative Studio. You can definitely do that. You could also make an item in Canva, Silhouette, Cricut, Photoshop, save it as a PNG to your desktop, I had to think for a second, to your desktop and then drag it into your Sawgrass Print Manager Smart folder. We haven't gotten to Print Manager yet in this tutorial, but basically what our Print Manager is, it's a software, it's a color rip software that speaks to your design platform and the printer. So it helps to make sure that your colors are accurate when they're printing. So it does work within Creative Studio, but it also sets up a folder on your desktop so that when you drag an item into it, you don't have to go into Creative Studio, and it regulates your color when printing. So there's two different ways where you can kind of get designs in a different software printed through your Sawgrass printer. I would not recommend printing just directly to the printer, because when you are in your software and you go press print, you will get that option, because your software generally will read the Sawgrass printer as if it's any other type of printer. I would not recommend just printing directly to the printer that way, because your colors can be off. So make sure you go through our Sawgrass Print Manager so your colors are regulated. And I hope that made sense. Okay, so somebody says that they are trying to design with me, but I'm going a little bit fast. So I'm going to slow down a little bit just so everybody who is actively working with me can be sure to stay on track. So thank you for letting me know that I was going a little bit fast. Okay, I think we have another question here. Yeah, it looks like the question I just got asked, I kind of just explained. So that's cool. So I have all my swatches in here. Now I just kind of want to make sure that everything is the same size that I want it to be. So I'm just going to do some shrinking up here. I'm going to bring that forward. Going to select this, bring that forward. And I'm going to select this and bring it forward. So now I kind of have my my colors the way I want them. I'm going to click Select All. That's going to grab the entire image. I'm just going to shift this a little bit because it was a little bit off-centered. And I'm going to shrink it up just a tad. There we go. I'm going to unselect Select All. The only way to stop having everything selected is to unselect Select All. So now we have our background the way we want it. Now we're going to move on to text. So if you go over to the text bar at the side of your screen, you go into Creative Studio. That is where we house all of our Creative Studio fonts. We want Chewy for this one, and we have a lot of fonts. We have hundreds of fonts in here. So I'm just going to try to skip ahead to the correct page, and I'll tell you which page Chewy is on for those of you following along at home. So Chewy in our text section is on page 10. Someone has a fantastic question. When in the Select All mode, do we have a way to see what the overall size of your item is? Currently, we do not. That is an excellent question, and unfortunately, that's not something that you are able to do at the moment. But we are constantly making upgrades to our Creative Studio, so I would imagine that in the future, you might be able to. Okay, so now I want to select Chewy, and I'm going to do all caps. Going to expand this font, and I'm going to fill this in white. Going to select my text again. I'm going to go to the size here, and there's two ways that you can increase your size. You can pull at this at the corners, or you can go in your toolbox here and increase it. So I have talk. And now what I want to do is create a shadow on on here. So the best way, from what I've learned, oh, someone says they can't hear me. So is anybody else having trouble hearing me?
I can hear you just.
Anne says, okay. Felicia says she can hear me. Anne says that she can hear me. So, okay. So I'm not sure why this one person's having trouble, and I'm really sorry, but since everyone else can hear me, I'm going to keep going and hope that there are no overall audio issues that are impacting more people. So I have the word talk. Now I'm going to duplicate it. So I select the word talk and I click duplicate. So what I'm going to do here now is create a shadow underneath this word. So I know there is a specific color I want, so I'm going to select the text that is going to end up being my shadow, and I'm going to go over to fill color. Now, the cool thing about this version of Creative Studio is that we can work with hex codes. So instead of trying to use my dial and fish around here for what color I want, I'm just going to click into my hex code. And I know, because I wrote it down earlier, the hex code I want is AE8781. And you click enter. And that gives you the color that I want. So in order to make this a shadow, what I'm going to do is make it slightly larger than the text that will be in front of it. So I'm going to select this. Whoop, it turned back white for some reason. Let's see. And I'm going to make it just a little bit larger. And as you see, right now it's layered on top, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go back into my sidebar here and click send backwards, and that will send it behind the text I want it behind. So it's a little bit too big, so there we go. I'm just going to shrink it up a little bit. And now it gives it this drop shadow look. And I'm going to just move it a little bit. There we go. So my first word is done. Okay, whoever was having audio issues reloaded, and they're fine now, so that's good. So now I'm going to, so the first word is done. The easy part is that moving forward, we're just going to repeat the exact same steps that we just did. So I'm going to go back to text, go back to Chewy, and in all caps, the word crafty. Ooh. Going to make this a little bit larger. And because, there we go, it's right in the middle, I want it a little bit larger than the word talk. So I'm going to go to fill color, click white. Click it again, click duplicate. And now I'm going to type in the hex code I want. That's why, because it's in caps. I don't know why it's acting all crazy for me right now. There we go. I'm going to select this and send backwards. So I could do one of two things. I could keep selecting the word Chewy and typing over and over. Or what I could do is I could select the word crafty, click duplicate, move it down so it's already in the right size and font that I want, and just make these minor changes. And this way also, I don't have to keep fishing for my color. So there are a few different cheats that you can use when using Creative Studio to make your life a little bit easier. Let's see. How can I get swatches of the hex codes? I have a horrible time getting the color I want in Creative Studio. So currently right now, there's not really a way to save swatches. What I do, and I know it's not ideal. So what I do when I want to save a hex code is I write the number down and then I type it back in when I need it. One of the things you can also do is if you're looking to match a specific swatch color and you're not sure what the hex code is, what I'll sometimes do is take the image from Creative Studio, download it to my computer using this right here, the download button. We can, using the download button right here, save that to my desktop, put it into Photoshop, and then use the dropper in Photoshop to find the hex code color, and then put that hex code color in Creative Studio. It is a workaround. It is, like I said, not ideal, but it is a way to try to get that hex code color that you want. Okay. So I'm going to just one more time. Whoop, the word me. Going to select background. Send backwards. It's going to move this a little. Whoop, wrong thing. This out a little bit. So there is our design. Talk crafty to me, which I think is very appropriate for this crowd. So now what I'm going to do, that I have everything the way that I want it, I'm just going to select all, and I'm just going to shrink it a little bit because it is rather close to the edges of my paper. I'm going to click unselect all. And now I'm going to print. So I'll hit the print button. First thing I need to do is find the right printer, which is right here. It is a US letter size. Really important to note, we are not going to mirror this item. For those of you who are new to sublimation, when you generally sublimate something, you have the item and your transfer paper that your image is printed on. What you normally do is you take that paper, put it face down on your item, and then press it. And then the design that you created gets mirrored onto your item. So that's why generally when you're working with sublimation, you will print your design mirrored so that it comes back to you. When you are working with EasySubli, you are printing directly onto the vinyl. You are then cutting that vinyl, taking it and placing that vinyl onto your item. This is not traditional sublimation. This is vinyl. It is sitting on top of my shirt. So you do not mirror when using EasySubli. So I want to make sure that I do not mirror my item and my mirror is unchecked, so I am good to go. When it comes to product, we are printing onto heat transfer vinyl. So I select that. And then when it comes to color mode, this is important as well. There are two types of color mode when you have an SG500 printer, either photographic or vivid. Photographic is ideal to use when you are printing a design that has a photograph on it. That is because it helps to regulate skin tones and colors. Vivid is what I would use if using a graphic or a design that has colors that are contrast to each other that you really want to pop and bounce off each other. This would be one of those designs, / there is no photo on this design. So I'm going to click Vivid. And it would be really, really nice if I had the printer plugged in. That's going to help too. So make sure your printer is plugged in and turned on when you want to print. So there we go. So someone wanted me to repeat, which for photo. So if you want to print a photograph, use photographic as your color mode. What makes it easy is that the word photo is right in the name, so it makes it a little easier to remember. Just give it a second because now it's going to read the printer since it was not initially plugged in. So someone wants to know if we can use any printer, and that is a fantastic question. So Creative Studio is designed to work only with Sawgrass printers. Creative Studio, SPM, which is our Sawgrass Print Manager, which is, if we could look here, is what is on our screen right now, and the printer are all working together. So when you're working with Creative Studio, you can only print to a Sawgrass printer. Now, someone might be wondering, what if I am not working with Creative Studio? What if I want to work with Photoshop, CorelDRAW, Silhouette, any other design platform? There are other companies that make printers that you can turn into sublimation printers. The downside to that is that they're not made for sublimation. So ink consistency, believe it or not, for sublimation versus laser jet printing are very different inconsistencies. So the problem is, if you convert, you're most likely eventually going to clog your heads. And converting does take a lot of time and energy and troubleshooting. So if you want to get into sublimation, I would definitely recommend just getting a Sawgrass printer. It comes with a 2-year warranty and lifetime support. As long as and the 2-year warranty is good as long as you're using Sawgrass ink, because our inks are made to work with our printers. And if you were to put different inks in, chances are, again, you might clog the lines or break the printer, in which case our support team really can't troubleshoot that because it's basically a foreign object in the printer. So I would recommend going with a Sawgrass printer with Sawgrass inks, but that is just me. But when it comes to sublimation in general, you need specific sublimation ink in order to make it work. And something else that's incredibly important for those of you who are new to sublimation is for traditional sublimation, which is when you put an image directly inside of an item. So you run your fingers over it, you don't feel it, it's baked into the item. The item needs to be polyester or coated in polyester. We recommend 100% polyester because that helps to trap the molecules and make the item bright. I would never go any lower than 65% polyester. So today's video, we are printing onto EasySubli Vinyl. That is a vinyl that is coated in polyester. This shirt is actually cotton. So this is a workaround to be able to put sublimation designs onto cotton. You sublimate onto the vinyl, then stick the vinyl onto cotton. But general traditional sublimation is used with 100% polyester items. And I hope that was explained well. If someone has any questions, please let me know. But back to our tutorial, I'm going to click print and let the printer do its magic. So once this item prints out, it is very important to know that you're going to have to dry the inks on it. So someone wants to know where you can find a Sawgrass printer. You could find a Sawgrass printer at michaelsartsandcrafts.com. They do sell our printers on their website. And just so you know, everything that we're using today in this tutorial all came from Michaels. So we're going to let this print, and it's a little bit loud, so I'm just going to let it do its thing, and then we'll talk more about our next steps. Okay, let's see. So Heather says, I've heard you can sub onto EasySubli instead of printing directly on it. No, I would not, because what's going to happen is the back of this sheet is heat activated. So if you were to sublimate an item using traditional sublimation paper, sublimate a design using traditional sublimation paper onto this paper, it's going to require heat to do so, in which case the back of this paper, well, this vinyl, the back of this vinyl will be activated. The glue on it will be activated, and it's going to end up sticking to the plastic coating on the back. So I would definitely not recommend doing that. Now you could say, well, what if I take the backing off, put this on my shirt, and then sublimate? You could do that, except that then you wouldn't be able to cut your image. Unless you want an image that is 8.5 by 11 just on your shirt, you could do it that way, but I would not recommend sublimating onto the vinyl. I would recommend printing onto the vinyl. So currently I am not using regular sublimation paper. This is EasySubli Vinyl that we are printing on. So that's a very good question. So if you want to use EasySubli Vinyl and you want to print onto vinyl, I recommend using the EasySubli Vinyl. If you want to do traditional sublimation onto 100% polyester coated item, I would use our sublimation paper that we offer here, or any other paper that is made for sublimation. Our paper is TruPix, so TruPix. I would definitely not use a regular paper, because regular printer paper is just going to absorb the ink and you're not going to get as much coming out onto your item, where sublimation paper is made to temporarily hold ink and then when heat activated, put it on the item. Okay, so back to this. So this is EasySubli Vinyl we printed on, and what a difference, right? I'm going to try to get a close-up of this so you guys can see a very big difference in the way that these colors look. That is because when it comes to sublimation, whether it's on vinyl or paper, it takes the proper time, temperature, and pressure under the heat press for the colors to be activated. So it's always going to print out very light, and you won't see that color pop until you press. Now with traditional sublimation, on traditional sublimation paper, you can print, slap your paper on your item, press, and be done. With EasySubli, it is a little bit different. For starters, when this prints, it is a little bit wet. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this sheet underneath our heat press. We are not going to press down. We're just going to hover. So I'm going to put my press back into place, and it's going to hover on top of our EasySubli Vinyl so that that ink starts to dry. And I put it under here. The heat press is set to 311 degrees. I'm going to have it under here for about 45 seconds and let that ink dry up. That's important because we're going to be running this vinyl through our cutter. And you know how the cutters are. It scans, it runs the blade over everything and has a chance to smudge our image, and we don't want that. So just let it dry for a second. And you'll see when I bring this out of the heat press, the colors will start to pop a little bit compared to before when I put it in. That's because that heat is starting to activate some of that ink. So someone had a great question. They said they tried sublimating onto a dark 100% polyester shirt. The image didn't show up. What happened? What happened is sublimation works best on white or very light colored polyester items. And you see here, the color has been brought out a little bit. That is because it's not like screen printing. Screen printing puts down a layer of white and then puts your design on top of that layer of white on your item. Sublimation uses CMYK ink, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. It doesn't print a white ink or a white toner. So when you have white in your design, it reads it as blank space, and it just doesn't print on that area. So it's best to have a white or light colored shirt, because when you put your design onto that, we'll call it a shirt, it needs that white to poke through in order to make a white area. Now also, any shirt color you have underneath a traditional sublimation design is going to impact the way the colors look. So like I said, best to do 100% white or a very, very light color. Now we're able to use a black cotton shirt today because we are printing onto EasySubli Vinyl, which will sit on top of our shirt and is not traditional sublimation.
Hey Megan, this is Felicia. Just to kind of help you out a little bit, can you speak a little bit more to using different cutting machines and how that would work with the different cutting machines?
Sure, give me 1 second, Felicia. This computer is low on battery.
Okay.
My, is it in here? It's probably at my desk or in my desk. Sorry, the computer that we have hooked up to this Zoom call is getting a little bit low on battery, so he's gonna run and grab that. So when it comes to using other, I will admit, I have not used any other cutters when doing these projects. I've solely stuck with Silhouette. What I will say is that if any other colors have the ability to use a type of PicScan sheet, then you are fine and you should be good to go, because we're gonna put this image on our PicScan sheet, take a picture of it, and load it into Silhouette. Oh, great question. Someone says, can I use a small portable heat press? Ooh, I would recommend, if you're talking about the handheld one, like an iron type of thing, I think I know what one you're talking about. I'd recommend no, because like I said before, proper time, temperature, and pressure. Pressure is key. It's hard to regulate pressure on a handheld press. When using we'll call it a factory press. I'm not sure what the exact, a press like this that clamps down and has a regulated pressure, that's really what you need. Because if you have uneven pressure, your design is going to come out uneven. Okay, let me just see here, because like I said, we got 8%. Hopefully he gets back here in time with our, so we don't lose you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna move on with the cutting aspect of this. So what I'm going to do is stick this onto our PicScan sheet. Okay, so we have this on our PicScan sheet now. And no, I am not going to press it. But what I am doing is I'm just using this as an extra table so I can take a picture of it. You having a hard time finding the thing?
It's okay.
Okay, we're only at 8%, so it needs to be.
You keep looking. I mean, I'll keep looking while you work.
Okay, keep looking while I work. Sorry about that. I'm not sure where it went. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture. And I need some height, I need some good light, and I need to have a steady hand. So what is a PicScan sheet? So a PicScan sheet has registration lines that the Silhouette will read on it. So you can get a PicScan sheet at Michael's. And let me see down here. Do you want me to log in on this computer? Oh, there it is. It's right in front of our eyes. Okay, so hopefully we won't lose you guys then. Right down there is a plug. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to email this picture to myself. Other side. Perfect. Good. We're good. We won't lose you. Give me a second here just to make sure that yep, it is actively charging. Okay. So yeah, so what we're doing with the PicScan sheet is we're gonna put our design, put our printout on the PicScan sheet. Like I said before, I took a picture of it with some height. The important thing is having good lighting and a steady hand and being directly on top of it. And Felicia put a link to the PicScan mat where you can find it at Michael's in the chat. So what I'm doing now and this is kind of a workaround, what we're doing is I'm going to email this to myself so I can put it on my desktop and throw it into Silhouette. So that is currently being sent. Perfect. So while I'm waiting for that to get to my email, I'm going to open up my Cameo. And I'm going to load up my Cameo. Actually, I'm going to unload and reload because I think it's a little bit crooked. There we go. Perfect. So now it's loaded in, and we're going to just hang out for a second here while I go into my email and grab this picture. So give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm opening it up in my email, and I'm going to save this image to my desktop. So it's been saved. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Silhouette Studio. And I'm going to go over here to this PicScan. I'm going to make this a little bit larger so it's easier for you all to see. Go over to this PicScan mat in the sidebar. I'm going to hit that. Import PicScan image from file. I'm going to find it on my desktop. Click open. Continue. Continue. So now my design is pulled up on the PicScan sheet. So here's where things get a little bit testy, because the PicScan sheet is great, but it's not perfect. So we're going to do a little bit of playing around here to make everything come out the way we want it to. So I'm going to select trace area, and I'm going to draw a square. I want to get this kind of as tight as possible around here without cutting out any of the vinyl. Just going to squish this in here, make this a little bigger. And now I want to kind of fill in this area with yellow. Just give me a second, it's kind of lagging. It's really lagging. Let's see, try doing it again. There we go. I'm playing with my threshold. I don't know why it's, I don't know why it's not reading it. Listen, I told you last week I had issue. Oh, so someone says, why yellow? It's just the way that Silhouette fills it in to read where the lines are. It's nothing to do with the color or anything that we do. So I want to do fill color, solid fill, and I'm trying to, let me back out of the program and go back in because it's just really lagging on me. I'm gonna back out, back in, and I'm gonna re-import my image. Okay. It's gonna go, yeah, there's something wrong here because it keeps, there's something wrong with the program. It's really freezing up on me. The top bar of my computer is over it. I'm gonna quit it and go back in. There we go. All right, one more time. So someone says they don't have a Cameo, only a Cricut. How can they do this? So I'm not really quite sure about what products Cricut has. If they have a PicScan sheet, you should be able to print from here and then put the image on a PicScan sheet for Cricut and then run it through the cutter. So the thing is, to make this vinyl, this EasySubli Vinyl, we partnered with Caesar, and Caesar is a partner with Silhouette, so that's why this kind of meant to work together. But if you had a PicScan sheet for Cricut that you could use in Cricut's design space, that could be your workaround for it. All right, so let's see if it's still finicky up here, but let's just see if we can get past it. Okay. If this doesn't work, I'm going to try quitting my other programs, and hopefully that helps me out. So I'm going to select a trace area. There we go. Now it's starting to fill in. All right, perfect. So now what I've done is, I selected my trace area. I went around here. I selected solid fill and then threshold. So threshold uses this yellow. It kind of helps to fill in from the center to the outlines to help the program read where the outlines of my design are. So I've moved my threshold up to 89%, and that's helped the program figure out where all my cut lines are for this design. So what I'm going to do now is do trace and attach. And as you can see, now there's a red line all around the outside of this design. This red line is showing me where the Cameo is going to read in order to cut this product. So I'm going to go over here. You can't see it because my computer is all messed up, but I'm going to go over to send. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is plug in my Cameo to my computer. Let's give it a second to read. So someone says that Cricut does not have a PicScan sheet, and that the paper size, the vinyl size might be a little bit too big anyways. You could always just cut it by hand if you have more simple designs. Our equipment failed last week. I had to cut a design with scissors. So it's always an option, but not the ideal one. Can you explain the difference between cut and cut edge? Oh, hold on one second. Because my send button is covered up here. Of course, so my send button is underneath everything I need here. Give me 1 second. I just need to X out of some programs and hope that that helps me here. Not sure why it is acting up the way that it is. Trying to click escape to make this a little bit smaller. That'd be great, but it's of course not working for me. And so with Silhouette, Alex, we could go back to the computer. So with Silhouette, the send button to get it to cut is right underneath all my bars here on my computer. Oh, Alex is going to come here and help for a second and see why my computer is frozen like this. See if we can get my view to shrink up a little bit so I can print it. All right, so while Alex is trying to help me so I can shrink this up so I can print, the good news is I already have one cut. So if this doesn't work, I can at least show you how to weed it and how to press it. Let's see. Will this be available later to view? The answer is yes, it'll be available on Michael's YouTube channel within the next 24 to 48 hours. Oh, thank you, Alex. See, Alex is the best. Okay, so great. Now we have this send button available. Again, thank you, Alex, for your help. So I'm gonna click send. And right now the Cameo is reading the PicScan sheet, reading the registration lines so that it can cut this design the way it's supposed to. All right, and it's a little bit loud, so I'm gonna let it do its thing. All right. Just give it a second and I'll unload it. Perfect. So that's there. Before I go ahead and press this, what I'm going to do is come over here and just press my shirt for a few seconds. Just to let some of the moisture out of it. Someone wants to know the differences between cut and cut edge. I don't see cut edge. I think you're wondering between like trace outer edge and trace and detach. It's really the same from what I've worked with it, between tracing the outer edge and tracing and attach it. I've pressed both when working with the program. Both have worked for me. But again, you know, I'm an expert in Sawgrass and sublimation. I'm not a total expert in silhouette. I can answer some questions related to silhouette, but not a ton because I'm still kind of learning it as well. So I hope that helps you in any way. After I press send, what did I select to cut? So after I press send, it all worked itself. Now my cut setting was at a 2, if that's what you're wondering, for my blade. Okay, so my design is cut, and I'm gonna take it off the mat, and I'm going to, I have a weeding tool in the other room, but I'm gonna just try to do it with my finger here. There we go.
Hey, Megan, I think I understand the question. I think what they were saying, when you sent it through Silhouette, once you hit send, it'll automatically give you the bolder red lines to showing exactly where the machine is going to cut. I do believe that's the question.
Yes. Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, when I press send, it's just showing me exactly where the machine is going to cut my image. So I know. Otherwise, I could go back into my design space and I could make any changes that I need to change. So I'm just pulling this off the backing. Oh. Okay, so there it is. Like I said, multiple colors, multiple different designs and layers and text, all one sheet of vinyl. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I've pressed my item. pre-pressed it to let some of the moisture out. I'm now going to lay it down on top of my shirt. And I want to make sure it's centered, but it doesn't have to be totally centered because everything's kind of going back and forth. So I have it now where I want it to be on my shirt. Now I'm going to take a piece of blowout paper, or technically it's called newspaper paper, but no, do not use newspaper that's been printed on. It's just a plain sheet of paper. What I'm doing is I'm going to put it on top of my design before I press. Because when I press sublimation ink, it turns into a gas. And we don't want those gases being caught on our press, because then there's a possibility that when we press our next item, it will reactivate and go on to our next item. So that's why I put this paper down to keep those gases from being released and getting on our press. And we are going to press this at 311 degrees for 15 seconds. Okay, so we got about 5 seconds left, and basically what's happening is this is activating the colors and it is sticking the HTV backing to our shirt. And voila, there it is. And I'll bring it over here so you guys can get a close-up view of it. So talk crafty to me. As you can see, the colors are much brighter than when we first designed this and printed it. Now, the pressure setting is at a medium pressure. So someone says, do you have to use the mask for EasySubli? It depends. If you want to, you certainly can. If you're using multiple different cut items on one shirt. This is one giant piece of vinyl, so I didn't feel the need to use a mask since transferring it was very easy. But if you have multiple small things, using a mask is definitely recommended. Are there any other questions? You guys have had a lot of awesome questions today, and you've been incredibly engaged, and I really appreciate that. I'm glad that you all want to learn. So, what is the name of the printer? This is an SG500 from Sawgrass. Tanya wants to know what a mask is. So a mask is basically more or less a clear transfer that you put on top of vinyl after you weed it to pull it up, so that when you are going to put the vinyl on an item, all the pieces of it stay together and you don't have to individually put each one on your item. There is an EasySubli mask that does come with EasySubli Vinyl that you can use. So that is what a mask is. Someone says they're ready to try EasySubli. That is awesome. And speaking of EasySubli, because we are doing more classes, and darn it, I wish I had the item that we're making for next week. Not next week, 2 weeks from now. So on April 28th, I believe that is Wednesday, April 28th, we have another class coming up, and we are not using a shirt. This time we are using a hard item. It is a wall decor paddle that you can hang. I painted it. I got everything from Michael's, and what I did was made a design with EasySubli to put on there, and it looks really awesome. So I highly recommend that you sign up for that class. That is Wednesday, April 28th, same time, same place. Alex is actually going to get the item so that I can show it to you all before we leave. Let's see. Tanya says her first class and she's so excited. Yay, that's awesome. I'm so happy. Please tune in for more. Someone said this was fantastic. I learned so much. Thank you. I am so glad. So before we wrap things up, there are a few things that I think you all should know. The first being that we do have what is called the Sawgrass Academy. It is absolutely free for you all to use. We go over the basics of sublimation, how to use Sawgrass products, and how to use sublimation in order to make a business. And Alex, thank you so much. This is the item that we are making on the 28th Again, this is an item that you can get at Michael's. The paint is not from Michael's. I did have to paint this myself. I used a heat-resistant paint. I highly recommend that if you want to learn more about this, go to the class sign-up sheet. I have the list of all the things that you need. If you want to make this along with me on the 28th, paint it ahead of time, please. That will save us all a lot of time because paint does take a little while to dry. So I do have on there what you will need in order to make this. So this is, like I said, decor wall hanger for the 28th. So if you want to learn more about sublimation, Sawgrass Academy, you can find that at sawgrassink.com. That is our website. That's sawgrassink.com. You can take free courses to learn more about sublimation. You can also go to our YouTube channel to learn how to do literally every single button that is in our creative studio. You can go to the Michael's YouTube channel where you can find the replay of this. Our past classes are on there as well, as long as many other past Zoom classes that you might have missed. This class will be on there within the next 24 to 48 hours. We also here at Sawgrass have a podcast that I host. If you are a vinyl fan and you are a fan of Mandy from Sparkleberry Ink, she will be on the podcast tomorrow. It will premiere at 7 a.m. Eastern time on SoundCloud. It'll then be available at 9 o'clock a.m. on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Tomorrow, you can also find a video recording of us doing the podcast on our website, that's sawgrassink.com. And you can find a bunch of different podcasts there as well. The name of the podcast is Ink Differently. That is Ink Differently. And we also do weekly Facebook Lives. Generally, they are on Wednesdays. Because of Michael's today, it was not today. Our weekly Facebook Live will now be tomorrow. So we are having one tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Mandy from Sparkleberry is going to be my special guest, and we're going to make an item using some Sparkleberry designs that are in our creative studio right now. Someone wants to know, does the Cameo come in different sizes and versions? The answer is yes. The Cameo Portrait is smaller than this. This is a Cameo 3. The Cameo 4 is currently available on Michael's. And there's also the Cameo Pro, is the big one. If you're in larger products, you can get that. So all Cameos are available at Michael's. I hope there is nothing I left out. If you this project or any projects, please hashtag Make It With Michael's.
And just so you would know, I have put the link to her next class
Anything else?
in the chat as well. Thank you all and have a great evening.